Hello everyone, it's John and Pippin, who's once again not very impressed that he's having to do a video with me. Are you? Eh? Oh dear. Obviously this producer of mine is very difficult to please, aren't you? Yes? But he's such a lovely boy. He's been keeping me company. I've not been very well of late. I've been quite ill. So he's strange how animals know when their owners are not well. They just always stick to them. Oh, aren't you gorgeous? Yes, you are. Love my little man. So what is today's video about? Well, I've been, oh dear, looking at my role-playing, which obviously has been quite a bit of it popping up of late. And I thought what I would do... Oh, okay, you're going to have a read at what I've written? No, he's going to have a sniff at what I've put down. Now I can't see what I've... You're going to put your head on what I've written. How am I going to know what I've got to talk about? No, doesn't really care what I've... Oh, so you're going to read it for me? Are you going to read everything I've put down? Don't you people love my videos? Nothing scripted. Oh, let me guess, you've read my script and you reckon that it's crap. Is that what you reckon? You're saying, Dad, why are we doing this for? Is that what it is? Come on, have one another little look at the camera and say hello to everybody before you wander off again, hey? No? Oh, all right then. Yes. All right, now, do you think I can get on with what I want to talk about? Yes? Oh, who's that? Oh, that's... Oh, no, come on, you sit here, otherwise you're going to go wander off and go barking, and that'll be the end of my video for the day. I've got you here, come on. Yeah, we've got a big Great Dane down the road, and it has... I don't know what sex it is. I think it might be a boy, I'm not too sure. I think it must be a boy, because he gets rather uppity when he hears him. So, yeah. Anyway... I'm talking about, finally I'm getting to my task after goodness knows how long, 2.5 minutes of rambling about nothing. Look, well, thank you. I know my videos are incredibly unexciting. All right, so I'm talking about designing encounters. So we're designing an encounter for a role-playing game. So the primary thing we're looking at is just what is going to be in the encounter. So, is it going to be a singular foe? You know, we need to have a look. Who's going to be the challenge? Or is it going to be a group? So, is it some bandits? Or is it perhaps a village of cultists? Or who knows? You know, so it's either a singular, it could be, singular could be an ancient red dragon or something like that, something that nobody really wants to run into. Or your challenge could be to solve a puzzle or determine, what's causing a mysterious illness that's not related to a foe. So, could be something as simple as, the local creek that or supplies water to a village and everyone's falling sick and nobody knows where the source of the illness is coming from. And it's, a mystery. Something that's not combat related. Of course, some, encounter may occur from wandering around trying to solve it, but that's fine. So, you can have encounters and play an adventure without, yes, I know, thank you, you're lovely, without having to have everything orientate around challenging a foe and combat. Then you can have your encounter could be, or, your designing your encounter or your adventure could all be about information gathering. Or the exact opposite. You could be told, look, we want you to go out there and sow some seeds of dissent, spread some rumours, some salacious information about the Duchess or something for some political gain. So, you know, you've got an encounter like that. You know, it doesn't have to be, again, adversarial. So they're the sort of things. A trade mission, you know. Take these goods from point A to point B, sell them, you know. Make your players traders, you know. You don't actually have to be, you know, you don't have to be, say, a class as a merchant or something. You could just be people. Or again, if you're a cleric, you could go out proselytizing and, you know, trying to tell people, you know, converting people to your particular god's faith or something like that. So they're the sort of, you know, things that you need to, excuse me, that's enough. I know, everybody knows you're here. No, if you hop down, you're just going to sit down and bark all the time. Yes, sorry. So once you've determined what your primary focus of the encounter is, you then need to have a look at, well, just what is going to be the strength or the challenge involved. Hey, that's enough. Right, I'm back. Somebody's being very naughty at the moment. As you can see, he's sulking because I've had to remonstrate with him by picking him up and sticking him on my lap. Well, I don't know what sort of state this video is going to be in, but it will be entertaining nevertheless. So what was I raving on about? Oh, the strength and that of the, you know, determining how the challenge rating is going to be. So the one thing I have learnt is that always be prepared to modify your adversity level of the threat. So if it's too hard or it's too easy. So if it's too hard, drop it. If it's too easy, pardon me, if it's too easy, increase it and do it on the fly. So in other words, don't be afraid to change what you initially have designed if you find that there's no challenge to the players, because there's nothing worse than players being discouraged by, you know, impossible odds, or with it being a cakewalk and, you know, there being no challenge. So be prepared to modify things as it goes. And that leads me to the other thing, is that I always try to modify any foe that I might have, because so many players have access to a lot of the printed material out there. And so consequently, I'll always change things, which upset a few people, but I find that it's far more entertaining to, you know, give monsters, creatures, people, abilities that players aren't going to be prepared for. So, for instance, lowly skeletons, you know, easy to defeat, but I might decide that they break into 1,000 pieces and become like a little shrapnel bomb. But I give the players a hint by saying, look, as you're engaging and fighting this creature, every time you hit it, you notice that there's a spider web of cracks that start glowing across the entire skeleton's frame. So, you know, people get a warning and find out, look, this is what's happening. Ooh, this doesn't seem to be a normal skeleton. So you're not throwing that big a surprise. So they can be sort of prepared for the fact. But then most people will find that playing any games with me as the game master, they will know that, look, John never follows the script. So, you know, that's what they can expect from me. The other thing is puzzles and mysteries and things like that, is that I always put plenty of clues and hints throughout any adventures that I run for an encounter. So if they're trying to find a key or unlock doors or solve a riddle or whatever, there will be enough clues about to solve it. I won't allow people to roll a dice using a skill to be able to just literally not solve it by their own intelligence. Not when they've been given more than enough hints to be able to solve it from within, information and that they've gathered. If they can't put 2 and 2 together to get 4, I'm not going to give them a free pass. So that's the one thing that I do when I run my adventures, is that I really don't like players bypassing the solving mysteries or puzzles by dice rolling their way out of it. Because the thing is, look, there are throughout history, throughout particular events, you may not be able to get past a particular locked room or something. That will happen. So in which case, you leave the area. You go back. You may find some additional. Well, once again, if I'm running the adventure, I will leave some clues or provide some help for the players to be able to go back and attempt it again. So, it's not like I'm a heartless bastard, although some people might think. I don't have my heart. My heart's sitting in a jar on top of the bookcase over there, beating away rather nicely. But that's, things that I personally do anyway. So is that, with mysteries and puzzles and that, never allow a dice roll to determine. That just sort of defeats the purpose of having puzzles and that and mysteries within the game itself. I always, if you need to, always modify or use old adventures. Like I will find that as everybody knows, not everybody, people who've followed my channel for quite some time know that I've got really, really old stuff. So I'm not averse to going back in time, grabbing an old, Judges Guild material or that, and grabbing a map from these materials and use them for the basis of my own encounter. Or I might read through the encounter and go, yeah, well, I quite like the concept of what they've got in there. However, I'm going to change around who the adversaries are. I'm going to take out all these high-level monsters that are in there, and I'll make it a low-level encounter instead. Instead of all this, we'll make it something that's less, combat-y or something like that. So, don't be afraid to go back and reuse old modules. And that goes with any printed, that's the other thing too, with any of the printed modules, is that I always change anything that's in there, due to the fact that so many people can access most of the material that's printed. I always assume that everybody's read it, and so consequently I will change the information so that people just aren't fully aware. Okay, maybe the dungeons might be a little more difficult, but I'll throw traps in, or I might suddenly have a corridor will disappear, or things like that. So yeah, they're the sorts of things. Next thing is, I try to apply logic to my encounters. I know that's a very strange thing to apply to a fantasy world or any sort of other role-playing situation, is to apply logic, but I try to think, who's going to populate this little encounter? Who's supporting whom? So in other words, obviously a high-powered lord, or if it's an encounter, will be supported by these level of people. For instance, you won't have, say, a first-level character with an ancient dragon as its sidekick. It's more likely to be the other way around. So, for first-level characters, that's unlikely to ever occur. So, logic needs to apply with how you would do it. The other thing is that, if you've got, say, if you're doing the classic dungeon, is, if you've got a dungeon with 100 rooms, you don't have a monster in every one of the 100 rooms, because then, heaven forbid, you'll be, the way some people play combat, you could be 6 months playing the 100-room encounter. Well, yeah, maybe that's an exaggeration, but I think you get the idea. So you need to have a think about how you're going to space out your encounters, and consider how you're going to populate it. And I tend to populate them very sparsely. So I tend to go with, if I'm, say, doing a dungeon, there's usually one chief bad guy, 3 or 4 medium level scum, and maybe half a dozen or more underling low level riffraff, and pace it accordingly, so that's, and there needs to be an ecology, so I'm thinking about, well, how are they living in this environment? That's the other thing, monsters or creatures or people don't just live in an environment without some source of, I always look at it, well, look, this is their home, or they've taken up residence here. How are they living here? So, these are the sort of things I think about when I'm looking at my dungeons, is that, unless it's undead, and I must admit I do prefer my, particularly dungeons, I tend to go undead for all that. I leave the dungeons for my undead encounters, and I tend to leave things like castles and villages and things like that for the living. So that's how I do that. Cave systems is usually, say, goblinoids and things like that. So that's how I tend to run my encounters that way. So the other thing to consider is thinking about your foes as to what they will do if they are defeated, or they realise that they're going to be defeated. Is it like the old matinee during the 40s and 50s, where the villain always escapes at the end out through a hidden trapdoor? You need to think, will he surrender? And this is where you have to have a look at, just what is the reputation of the, of the party members or the group. Some of the people I've known who play are ruthless people and will kill. I think the word is murder hobos or something like that. So, obviously, if the encounter know that these people are famed for putting anybody and everybody to the sword, well, they're not going to surrender. However, most sensible people, once again, this is a fantasy world, will probably surrender once they realise that they're beyond a capacity to be able to defend themselves, or if they can't win. So they're the sort of things it doesn't always have to drag out to the enemy fighting to the last breath, and monsters will flee like any animal. Any animal that's badly injured or whatever will attempt to flee. So this concept that creatures fight to the very end, they really only do that if they're trapped. So, but yeah, that's that. And finally, the last thing you need to look at is rewards. So what are you going to give people for going through your encounter? So I tend to look at dropping rewards throughout an encounter. So if it's a village, or throughout an outdoor setting, if it's dealing with trying to find a cure for an illness, or once again I guess the main one is if you're in a dungeon environment or whatever, if they're going to fight, have to fight against something that has a particular invulnerability. I might put an item in their way that they can find that will give them an advantage to be able to defeat this creature or to overcome the obstacle, you know. So they'll find, oh look, we've got a magical, we've got a miniature bridge that will allow us, you know, one use only, that will allow us to cross this chasm, you know, things like that they'll find. So little rewards like that, or you know, the little bridge might be usable once a week, and it'll allow them to cross up to say 100-foot chasm or 100-foot gap, usable once a week. After which it then, you know, shrinks down to a you know, maybe a, I don't know, 4-inch miniature bridge that they can carry in their pocket. You know, little things like that. Something that's not overpowered, but is there that they can use sparingly. So while it sounds powerful, it's not something that they can pull out and use every 5 minutes when they've got to go, oh look, we've got to cross. I think, oh, we'll throw out the portable bridge. So the rewards need to be tempered, and I tend to find that having magic items that have you know, rewards can also be not just magic items, but rewards can be in the form of obviously money, but they can also be tangible items in the way of, you know, you may find deeds for a piece of property, or you know, all sorts of other things that can be useful. You know, it might be recipes, etc. So there's lots of things that you can do that can be done. But yeah, I tend to find that you drop rewards that can assist players if they need to be able to overcome difficulties within an encounter, and then obviously when they, you know, overcome the final part of the encounter, you know, there will be some form of final reward available to them, depending on just how great the encounter was. But yeah, all right. Well, that's my 2 cents worth on designing encounters. I probably waffled very much. We've been dreadfully distracted by somebody here. Hey, you're gonna don't you just love, oh, the lack of enthusiasm here now. All right, look, I'm finished now. You happy? Yes. No, he's not happy. He's going to go, I'm going to go back to sleep, Dad, and look off to the side. I'm going to bark at every dog that goes by. Anyway, look, thank you everybody for watching and putting up with this bit of diatribe. So till next time, signing off, the Honourable John.